Okay, real talk, I did not expect Ubisoft to drop free story expansion for Mirage this late. I spent some time in Valley of Memory and it honestly changed how I look at Basim and Mirage as a whole. So in this video I wanna talk about how it made me feel, what actually works, what doesn't, and if it's worth coming back to Mirage in 2025. Honestly, when I saw the announcement regarding AC Mirage, I was thinking, okay, this is gonna be like 1 hour mission or something. I honestly wasn't expecting it to be this size. A whole new region, replayable missions, and of course the parkour update as a whole. Free jumping, well, manual jumping, as it is as a running joke at the moment, but oh my god, I love it. Manual jump. But I'm so glad I was wrong with my first impressions regarding Valley of Memory, because the deeper I got into ALULA and Basim's story, I felt more like, wait, this is actually like small paid DLC than a free one. Of course, we have had whole new maps in AC before, completely for free. For example, in AC Valhalla, Island of Sky, that was absolutely free. Also the Forgotten Saga, free as well. Master Challenges, Tombs of the Fallen, free as well, and so on. So definitely Valhalla did set the pace for that one. Of course, Shadows have had its share of free content. Well, of course in much smaller scale than Valhalla did, but still this is amazing to get in 2025 for Mirage. And yeah, I honestly think this is pretty much closest you can get of the original Assassin's Creed titles as you can get in the modern games, especially after the free jumps, parkour updates, the combat system, and of course the city structures in the game. Don't get me wrong, it is not some crazy world-changing expansion, but it feels respectful of my time. It didn't face me with endless fillers, with the same content. It introduced us to some new ones, well, old and new at the same time, if that makes sense. Like the flying music seats that Basim can play, the folktales, giving us closer look of the folktales of the area in a nice way, in my opinion. So, all in all, it was really solid experience and it really gave us insight of the Basim and how he ended up in Norway with Sigurd in AC Valhalla. The whole Valley of Memory idea going into Basim's past makes this feel more personal than random contract chain. We already know where Basim ends up in Valhalla, so seeing this earlier emotional side is interesting. Did it actually hit you emotionally or not? Let me know in the comments down below. There were a couple moments where I genuinely felt for him. It is not big Witcher 3 storytelling, but it did more for Basim than some parts of the base game, and really explained how Basim is linked to the Norse gods and is reincarnated Loki, and it is by the blood from his mother's side. So, if you didn't care about Basim before, this might at least move him from generic protagonist to okay, now I get this guy a little bit more. I honestly don't know how else to put it. Characters like Dervis and Hind still feels more like tools for the story than super deep personalities, but hey, they are getting the job done. They are there to push Basim's journey forward more than be standout characters themselves, in my opinion. From a story perspective, I'd say this is a solid side chapter, perhaps or perhaps not essential, but definitely it will add some flavor to the game. What comes to the visuals and level designing, ALULA actually looks pretty freaking great. The rock formations, the vertical cliffs, the contrast with Baghdad's dense city streets, it's quote-unquote refreshing. Parkouring here feels more about reading the landscape. There were a few moments where I actually stopped just to look around and plan my route, especially with the rock formations and of course the city itself, the ALULA. The main missions in this update are actually structured pretty well. There are some stealth, some combat, some light investigations. So I would say the structure of the mission, perhaps the storytelling, like said, it was not the best, but also it wasn't the worst one I have seen. Overall it felt wholesome. And how we are not talked about the contracts and the replayables in this video yet, well, we are getting to that. The new contracts and the fact you can replay missions, it is a huge plus. Mirage at launch was pretty one and done, so having a reason to revisit the missions is something it really needed. Of course we had the new game plus, the permadeath mode previously added after the launch, but this time it is actually giving us a reason to replay the missions again and again. And doing so we can earn some cool rewards like the new ISU outfit dye, skill points, filters that we can use in our game, and of course the mods, basically infinite tools. But note, if you are activating those mods in the game, you cannot earn any trophies or achievements. So, more about the side content, things like melodies, folk tales, stolen goods, these are actually nice to have. If you are a lore nerd or if you are a trophy hunter, I think you will enjoy these ones. And no, there are no missable trophies added with this update, with this expansion, but if you're here for only assassinations and the combat, you actually might not care. With the update 1.1.0, Ubisoft Bordeaux also did brought the updated control presets that feels better than at launch. It is still not perfect, like classic Ezio parkour, Unity parkour, but the inputs feel a bit more predictable. Because it felt clunky, I'd actually recommend testing it again after this patch. And yes, when I first tried the new parkour presets control scheme in my livestream, it felt clunky, weird to me, but after the stream on the next day, when turning on the manual jumps or free jumps, and also removing the safe parkour thingy from the settings, playing around for a little while, it actually got me hooked. Let's be honest, this easily could have been a $10, $20 DLC, new area, new missions, new story, replayable content, that is actually more than some of the paid DLCs are giving you. So, as a free update, I'd say the value is actually pretty strong with this one, especially if Mirage has been sitting in your library or drive untouched. I would highly recommend of trying this one, because you can actually jump into the Valley of Memory even if you haven't met the requirements in the game. But note, if you do so, there will be some spoilers with the recap video that the game is giving you, recapping the events before the ALULA area is available. Also, this DLC felt like Ubisoft was testing the waters with smaller, focused, free content drops. If Mirage is supposed to be the classic AC style, then supporting it with a story like this really helps sell that identity. I'd love to see this becoming a pattern, launch a more contained AC, then drop 1 to 2 solid free story updates that flesh out the characters, because Mirage launched kind of mixed feelings. Some people loved the return of stealth, others felt it was too small. With Valley of Memory, the complete package in 2025 is easier to recommend, especially when it's on discount right now, in Ubisoft Store at least. And of course, using my creator code Skatha will grant you an additional discount on top of everything. So again, it doesn't suddenly turn Mirage into a masterpiece, but it does push it further into, yeah, this is worth playing if you like the franchise as a whole. If you have AC Mirage installed or sitting in your library or in the case of physical copies on your shelf, absolutely jump back in. This is basically free extra story and a new playground for stealth in case you dropped Mirage early. If you bounced off after a few hours, I'd say definitely come back if you were on the fence. The new controls and this story might be enough to make it click more. If you never touched Mirage, I still wouldn't say go buy it in full price just for this, but the sales that Ubisoft are having at the moment, this update included, because yeah, it was embedded into the title update, so that is making it way easier to recommend right now. Because to me, AC Mirage Valley of Memory was overall pretty wholesome. I enjoyed it a lot, so from scale 1 to 10, I am actually giving it a solid 9. It's not quite there yet, but it is getting so many things right. Of course, some things may divide players, like the parkour, the map layout, for example, or even the story. To me, this was actually a solid one, and especially for free. Well, who can complain about free stuff? For me personally, Valley of Memory feels like Ubisoft were finally giving Mirage a little boost it desperately needed. And like said, it is not perfect, but it definitely made me appreciate Basim and this game more than I did at launch. So, I'm really curious where you stand on this one. Did Valley of Memory change how you feel about Mirage, or is it still not enough to bring you back? Definitely drop your experience in the comments down below, especially if you finished Mirage at launch and just tried the new update. Did it hit you emotionally at all, or did it feel like a chore, some extra content to you? And of course, remember to hit the subscribe button. We are almost at 10,000 subscribers and it will be bloody fantastic to get there before the end of the year. Huge shout out to my channel members. You guys are super awesome. Also, huge shout out to Ubisoft Bordeaux for giving us this update for completely free for everybody. Well, the iOS users must wait a little bit more, but for the rest of us, this was really nice. For now, thank you for watching and see you in the next one.
Hey there, friend. I'm glad to see you. Stay sharp out there and keep smiling. We'll meet again.